Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Gina. Welcome to our Boxer Town Hall. I know we have a couple of things to go over today. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. If you've been here before, good to see you again. Throughout the session and presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and stick your questions in the chat box, and I'll go ahead and read it aloud at the end of each presentation. If you are feeling a little bit shy, you can feel free to go ahead and send those questions to me privately, and I will read those questions aloud anonymously for you. So we already have a couple of faces here. I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Denise, our host, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Gina, so much. It's always great to have you as part of our team here as we present the Boxer Family Town Halls. So today we have a couple of things that we're going to present for you. We always get questions this time of year about housing, residence life, food service during the Thanksgiving break, and then also the holidays and how that works. So we've asked Housing and Residence Life to be here today. Thank you, Megan and Keegan, for being here. And then we're also going to have an update on COVID-19, where we're at and what to expect as we head into this season at the end of the academic year. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce Megan Rice, who is the Assistant Director of Residence Life and Student Conduct, and Keegan Weiss. Did I say that right, Keegan?
It's Kagan Weiss.
Thank you, sorry. Who's the Housing and Dining Services Operations Assistant. And then I'll go ahead and share your guys' slides for you. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Denise. So as Denise mentioned, Kagan and I are just going to go over some housing and residence life and dining info. So Kagan, please jump in when you want and add any additional information. So we kind of have this in chronological order. So just so that you know, last week students were reminded of the Thanksgiving break closure dates, as well as the winter break closure dates, what the holiday break housing application process looks like, as well as more. So they've already received that information. They should have in their Pacific University email. If they're telling you they haven't, please have them go back and check their email for that information. It's also on, Kagan, is it on the housing website?
It is. I can link that in the chat really quick so that people can see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Thanksgiving week, here's some information by that. First, something really cool that's happening this year for the first time is Student Affairs and Bon Appetit, our dining service provider, is providing a free Thanksgiving meal box. They have meat and vegan options, and the first box that a student orders if they live on campus is complimentary. If they want more than one box, it's $12 per box, and they would just need to email housing. And I'm pretty sure, Kagan, you're probably taking care of that. And they just email housing@pacificu.edu to request an additional box. But if they only want their one personal box for themselves for free, they just go to the Google form and request that by November 16th. Which I think is this coming up Tuesday. They would pick up those boxes between 3 and 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 21st, from the UC Market in Forest Grove. And that is like the convenience store. Sometimes the terms are a little bit confusing, but it's the one that's the convenience store. That's where they would pick it up. Also for Thanksgiving week, one thing to know is that the main dining hall closes on Tuesday after the dinner service and reopens Sunday for dinner on the 28th. So there will be no main all-you-can-eat dining service between Tuesday after dinner until restarting on dinner on Sunday. The market, which is the convenience store, and it has limited items, limited fresh items, will be open from 10 to 5 on that Wednesday, but then we'll close after that and reopen at 2 on Sunday. The Starbucks will be closed from 2 p.m. Wednesday until Sunday morning. Anything else about that, Kagan, that you would like to provide about dining? Nope. So the primary message is just that there is very limited dining service on campus after Wednesday. So if a student is staying, that's something to prepare for. Encourage them to get their Thanksgiving meal boxes. The portions tend to be quite generous and will probably last them more than one meal. But then prepping them to be able to go to Safeway. Quite a few of the restaurants in town also close for the break. So just letting them know that they can walk to Safeway or they can drive to Safeway, pick up some food, and either use their residence hall kitchen or the communal kitchens in the residence halls to cook for themselves. Students have class on Wednesday. Do students have class on Wednesday? No, they don't have class on Wednesday. I know staff had a half day, if I'm remembering. Denise is saying yes, but they don't have class on Tuesday, which is why the meal service ends on Tuesday night. Or they don't have class on Wednesday, which is why meal service ends on Tuesday night. So returning from Thanksgiving break, and I think Denise, you're going to talk a little bit more about this. You mentioned that, but residential, or maybe Sarah, Dean Phillips will, but residential students can pick up their rapid COVID tests at their hall's front desk on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of the week after Thanksgiving. And we're really encouraging any student who lives on campus that has gone and spent time with family or friends outside of the university to pick up their rapid test when they come back. It will have instructions on how they can do that themselves, as well as instructions on how to report the findings of that. But I'm sure there'll be more information at the end of this or through this town hall about that. Okay, so Kagan, do you want to talk about holiday housing signups, or are you okay with me going forth?
I'm cool with whatever. I'm happy to talk about it if you'd like me to.
Okay, go for it.
Sounds good. So students received some emails from the housing office about holiday housing, including like really important dates, like the one listed, which is December 16th, which is when all of the residence halls are going to close, which means that students that don't have the need to be on campus during holiday break will need to be essentially out of their rooms by 10 a.m. on December 16th, and will be able to return January 2nd at noon. If they have any need to be on campus, like I know athletes are working with their coaches to kind of discuss whether or not they need holiday housing for games or matches or anything like that. But if there are any kind of travel conflicts, for example, I know an issue that we've run in the past is students maybe not being able to get a cheaper flight until maybe the 17th or maybe the 16th at actually like 3 or 4 p.m. instead of, early in the morning before the residence halls close. And so if that is even any kind of issue that your student might be encountering, I would encourage them to email housing to get a holiday housing application. Holiday housing is free. And I think that that's a really important thing to mention, is that holiday housing is free for students that live on campus. And it's just a really good opportunity if they need to take advantage of it. And that's important for us to know who will be on campus and who will not be on campus, so that we can be communicating with CPS to make sure that everyone that needs to be in the residence halls have access to the residence halls, and that people can't come in and out just for safety reasons. And this is an opportunity mostly for students that live on campus right now and are actually registered for winter and spring term. Those applications are going to be due on December 1st at noon. And as it says below, that there aren't any costs unless they are late. And if there is a need for a late application, that would be something that needs to be communicated with Trinity, who's the assistant housing director, as well as Dean Hyde, who's the dean of students. It's also important that if you know that your student is going to be studying abroad or graduating in the winter, that they also need to be communicating with housing about those plans.
Yeah, and I would just say that the reason why, even if for a few hours after 10 a.m. your student would need to leave to stay on campus, so even if it's like they're leaving campus at noon or at 1, it's important to sign up for holiday housing, because their ID cards will be turned off at 10 a.m. on the 16th if they're not signed up for holiday housing, and then that means they get locked out of the building. So if they are on that list, they will not get locked out of the building from doing that. So
Megan and Keegan, can I just say, the other thing that people need to remember is oftentimes students come back right after the holiday break or a little bit before January to work. That's normal, but they still need to sign up for holiday housing regardless.
Yes, thank you, Denise. Yes.
And if your student does request a holiday break application, there is several options that they can choose from to specify their exact needs, whether that's they're going to be on campus, at the very beginning of holiday break or at the very end of holiday break, or a variety of dates even throughout the break. And then that's something that they can further communicate and express with the housing office. So thank you for bringing that up, Denise. That is a very good point. That is an option that students will have to choose when they receive that application.
We also sometimes have a few students who are non-traditional that don't go home or don't have that opportunity regardless of their status. And so there will be people around throughout that time as well. And campus public safety is always there 24/7, 365 if they need assistance.
Yeah, so a little bit more about the December break hall closing. So after 10 a.m. on the 16th, just being aware that students don't need to move out. They don't need to take their belongings or except for what they need over break. So if they need a laptop or medications or ID or anything like that, they're encouraged to take those with them, but they don't have to move all their stuff out of their room, and they do not need to return their keys unless they are withdrawing, studying abroad, or graduating and permanently moving out of their room for one of those three reasons. But if they are coming back for January and or spring, then they can leave their belongings in their room and then have to return their key. They do need to take what they need for break. If they forget something, there is a process for them to retrieve that, but there are some fees associated with that process. And so that would be explained to them if they call either CPS or the holiday break RA. And so, yeah, we kind of talked about the parking. That's a good question. Generally, they need to make sure they're parked in an overnight lot. And they also need to be paying attention to their email because if I remember correctly, almost every year facilities schedules parking lot cleaning during winter break and encourages students to park in one lot or their car basically gets cleaned around, which means their car will get all the debris from cleaning all over it. And so they just need to be watching their email, but they can remain parked on campus as long as they are parked in an overnight lot. And they're following the instructions if there's any closures due to parking lot cleaning. So Denise, did you have anything about that?
If they're going to be gone through December all the way until February, they can also let campus public safety know where they're parked at, and they'll direct them if they need them to park somewhere else since it's an extended amount of time.
Sometimes they will also just instruct the student that maybe they move their car and they'll tell them, say, move your car under the light post in this lot that has the camera on it. So they'll have them move them and they can just call and CPS will instruct them to do that. One of the things, as Dina said, there are some people that will be around. There's going to be the holiday housing people. Our campus public safety is here 24/7, 365. Yes, even on Christmas Day, they work. And we do have those limited dining hours, but services will be limited if they do stay for holiday housing. So just know that, connecting with maybe their professors or their staff, or if they're trying to get a hold of financial aid or mail services or those kind of things, those services might be very limited within the community. But campus public safety is always a really great resource. And they are actually excited to help students during this time because campus becomes very quiet. And so they want that interaction. So don't hesitate to call. Kagan, this is correct, right? If a student is studying abroad, withdrawing, or graduating, they need to let housing know by the 16th in order to avoid additional charges, because the 16th is like the final day of the fall semester. And so if they forget to contact, then they get any January or spring charges, it gets prorated based off the amount of days. Is that correct, Kagan?
Yeah, that's correct. generally like December 16th is kind of like the last possible day that I would encourage your students to reach out. If they have any idea that that might be happening, they need to reach out pretty much as soon as they find out so that we can prepare for it. As far as withdrawing goes, that kind of is like a different department. They'll be, communicating with Ingrid Unterseyer, who's going to be communicating with housing. But yes, if there are any changes in plans, if they're maybe planning on studying abroad right now and that changes, or, maybe they finish all of their classes early and actually are eligible to graduate early, or something happens and they withdraw, they need to be communicating with us as soon as possible, if not by or before the 16th. So that is correct.
Yeah, and if a student is just doing a short-term study abroad, like just a January study abroad, they do not, but they're coming back for spring, they do not need to move out of their room. So there's a lot of January trips going out. And if they're going to be here for spring classes, obviously they don't need to move out and then move back in. But if they're not going to be here for spring semester, then they would need to be, or January, they will need to be moving out. And then we also have, if you have a new or returning student that is joining us back into housing, so maybe they lived off campus and they're coming back on, or they took a gap semester and they need housing, they just need to contact housing at Pacific U to request an application. And as Kagan put in the chat, here is the link to all of this information in case you forget. So I wasn't watching the comments. So anybody else, anyone that we didn't forget, we forgot to respond
I
to?
haven't had any questions come in through the private chat, but I wanted to ask a question actually. For holiday housing and for students who are not planning on coming for the winter session, those are different housing terms that we're talking about, correct? From January term to holiday housing. I think there might be some confusion in there. Is that the same?
Yeah, so the residence halls will reopen on January 2nd. So even if they're not participating in the winter term, they can come back to campus starting at noon on January 2nd.
Perfect.
That's also when I believe our dining services will be reopening. So
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, holiday housing is for the between the 16th and the 2nd, and then January is Kagan, I think it's added into spring or one of those costs that people pay for. So
correct.
Yeah.
So if they are planning on they just want to come back on the 2nd, they would not need to fill out the holiday housing application unless they're flying in and need to get back into their rooms before noon. But even then, there will be someone there that can assist them if that comes up. But
awesome, thank you. So far, no questions on my end here. Thank you.
I think the other biggest thing, just to remind all family members, to remind your students, is have them check their Pacific email. They're going to start getting a lot of emails just to make sure they're aware of what they need to do, what the process is. And if they say they didn't get it, remind them to check their spam folder. We know there's still a few things that seem to be going there once in a great while, and it's really random. So always best to have them check their Pacific email, and then if not, contact housing or go onto the website for more information. So, thank you guys so very much. And that leads us right into Dean Phillips, who is going to give us an update on COVID and what to expect, which you guys already gave a little bit of a preview.
Hello, thanks for having me. I hope you're all doing well. It's nice to have you here. So we are pretty much as sick of COVID as you are. And we are trying to be good sports about it, but that's about where we are right now. We have been very fortunate. The campus has been very healthy this fall. And so we are lucky we consistently have lower rates of COVID on campus than does Washington County or the state of Oregon. So we're doing well. When your students come home for Thanksgiving and then again for the winter break, a couple of things to keep in mind. One is they will have traveled if they're on an airplane. If you have vulnerable folks at home, you might consider having them tested at home just to make sure that you're protecting folks who are vulnerable. We will have testing available on campus when the students return, again, because they will have traveled. And so we will have testing both in the residence halls for students who live in the residence halls so they can pick up in the evenings, or if they do not live on campus, we will have testing in the NPR on Monday and Tuesday of the return to classes after Thanksgiving break, and they can just walk in and pick up a test. Those are rapid tests that they can pick up and do. We have right now 3 students with, I have to count, 3 students with COVID, but 2 off campus, 1 on. So that's, for us, that's actually a high for the semester. So I think it mirrors a little bit that there's a little bit of an uptick in the United States. Generally, we're starting to see right now. So we have a little bit of an uptick as well. We've been super fortunate in that we've not had any students who have become really sick. Nobody's had to go to the hospital. And since the vast majority of our students are vaccinated right now, when they get sick, they have a cold. They have cold symptoms, feel really tired, that sort of thing. And it lasts much shorter than the COVID before people were vaccinated. It's probably about a 3 or 4 day thing for folks feeling like they have a bad cold and feeling really tired. That seems to be a common thing. I will say that in Oregon, and different states will have different regulations, so check your own state, but in the state of Oregon, all of our students, because they are at a residential college, qualify for booster shots. Please encourage your student to get a booster shot. Most of them will have gotten their round of vaccines if they are returning students last spring, and it's time for a booster. So in the state of Oregon also, just so you know, if you live with your student, by the virtue of the fact that you live with that student, you qualify for a booster. So you too can go get a booster shot. It does not matter which shot you get as a booster shot. You can mix and match, so you don't have to worry about that. The vaccines are free and should be available at most drugstores in your town, in your neighborhood, like a Walgreens or a CVS. So that's what I have to tell you about all of that. I don't know if there's anything, Denise or Gina, if there are other things, or Megan, anything that I should be addressing there in addition, or any questions anybody has?
I'm not getting any questions in the chat box.
Y'all are so quiet. While I have you, I will take this moment to also say, because I am the dean, your students are coming into finals. They're going to be stressed out. So this is a good time for you to remind them that they can do it. We wouldn't have admitted them if we didn't think they could do it. We believe they can do it. We will help them do it, but they're going to be stressed out, especially if some of them are going through their first round of finals. It's hard, and they're going to find it stressful to get everything done. So encourage them. Do not believe them when they say that they're going to flunk everything. Just help them hang in there.
Awesome. We did get a couple of questions. Are there going to be booster shots available on campus for our students?
Yes, we are going to provide booster shots, but people should not, we still have to get them and organize it. So people shouldn't wait. If you can get a booster shot, near you, get it. There's no reason to wait. Ours are no better. Ours are the same. So, but yes, we will have them. In an ideal world, we will try to give some of those out after Thanksgiving when students can come in to get a test. My hope is they will also be able to get a shot, but we have to get through all those logistics first.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't think I have any other questions coming in at this time.
Sarah, thank you so much for also adding the part about where we're at in the semester. It's easy to forget that your students are at that point in the semester when everybody else is doing other things. I think it's also important to remind your student, if they are struggling, that there's always the counseling center. They have walk-in hours. They can contact them via phone and get an appointment for walk-in hours because that's the way they're doing it right now. But also all of us in student affairs, their faculty, anybody around campus is always willing to listen to them. Sometimes it's just getting it off their chest that they're struggling or feel like they're struggling at this point, and get them to the right resources. So we're all here to assist them. And you can always submit if you are concerned about your student. I'm going to put up a slide here in just a second on how to submit information. Also at the bottom of Pacific's homepage, there is a support at Pacific, which gives you all those resources as well. So just a reminder, I know that we've talked about this in the past, but it is that time of year for sure. Anybody have anything else that they'd like addressed? We kind of had a short agenda today just because we knew that this is that time of year. Okay, my student never got an insurance card. Should she go to the business office for that? So you actually can go to the business office's website and they can download their insurance card direct from the business office website. There is a link right there. So they do not need to go in. If they need help finding it, they're sure welcome to do that. Yeah, so the health center is separate from the health insurance, and that's a little confusing. We actually are talking to the health center about coming to present at one of these town halls in the spring, trying to finalize those dates to kind of give just a little bit more information as to what they're offering, how it works. Things are a little different than just even a couple of years ago. So we'll be hosting that in the spring, but their insurance card and insurance goes through the business office, not through the health center. She's not in the system for the health insurance. So yeah, I would have her contact somebody at the front desk at the business office, and they can help walk them through that. If she needs I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's a daughter or a son or what, but if your student needs additional assistance, you can also send myself an email and we'll get them connected. Okay, my daughter received a small refund check from the business office. It was mailed to our home in California. Just wondering why it was mailed to California when she is on campus. Sarah, did you want to answer that?
I have a guess on that, not knowing what the account was, but if it was possibly any distribution of HERF funds, those are required to be sent to the student directly. We are not allowed to apply them to a student's account unless the student says apply them to the account. And so if they don't say that, it gets sent to the student, it gets sent to whatever address they have listed as here's my address to send it to.
There's also the possibility, depending on what kind it is, that if they're not signed up for direct deposit through the university in any shape, form, or manner, they default to whatever address is on the student's profile. And HR does the same thing. If a student doesn't pick up their paycheck and doesn't have direct deposit, they'll send it home. And so the student, it's the best thing to do is to sign up for a direct deposit through the university, because that's how they'll get any, well, unless it's financial aid related, that's how they'll get it to the student then.
And it's usually also the permanent address on file, unless they have selected something different. The other thing that may, depending on the size of it, they also may have a refund or a reimbursement. There's a number of them who have bought certain things for student clubs and orgs and are getting reimbursements. And I know a couple of them I signed last week went to their permanent address. So those are some of the potential options as to why it came to your address in California. Gina, do you have anything else?
And it looks like we're not quite sure what the check was for, the check that was sent. It's a little bit under $100 there. I think I would have the student go ahead and walk over to the the business office. It's right next to the financial aid office in the lobby of Marsh Hall. And she could always go there to inquire about what that payment was for, and they should be able to pull up her account. But I do not have anything on my end outside of the questions that we're able to read. So.
Yeah, I don't have anything as well. I'll just give you a quick update that we are working on finalizing the dates for the spring town halls. Our plan is to offer 2 of them in the spring. At the moment, more than likely end of February, beginning of April. We're just trying to solidify our presenters and their availability. And then I also wanted to put up here that you can always watch the former town halls by going to the website. And at any point, you can send us it's a form online, but at pacificu.edu/contact student life. If it's something specific that you'd like addressed at a Boxer Family Town Hall, in the subject line, just put Boxer Family Town Hall. Myself and a colleague actually answer all of those emails that come in, and we send them to whoever needs them. So you can do that for just general support or questions, or if you want something for the Boxer Family Town Hall. So I see one more question. Do you have a family day or family weekend usually? We haven't for a couple of years. We're in discussions as to when we might have that back, kind of up in limbo at the moment, but more information will come forward as that gets solidified. At this point, my guess is we will probably not have one through this academic year. I'm going to say we're not going to have one probably through this academic year because I'll be the one that's organizing it. And so look for them in the fall/next spring of 23. That sounds really weird to say out loud. There's also some really great things happening around the university. If you go to the website and go to the events calendar, there are a couple of concerts that the students are putting on that will be live streamed. Highly recommend that you go to those. And some of your students may also be presenting and doing things that they are videoing and putting up online. So ask your student if there's anything that they're doing that they'd like you to view, and check out the website for more information. So will there be a luau this year? Yes, it has been determined at this point that there will be a luau this year. It's always the second Saturday in April. Exactly how that will look is still being worked out and determined, including, will there be a meal? Will there be a full show? How many people? All of those details are still being worked out, but yes, there will be a luau this year. And we really hope by that point, everybody's got their boosters and we are well on our way to eradicating as much of COVID as possible. Any other questions? Give you just a second to answer any more. All right, well, thank you all so very much. Thanks to our presenters for being here. Gina, it's always a pleasure. It's great to be co-host with you.
Thank you. We did record this and I will be posting the video, and I believe a communication will be going out to everybody with the link to the video. I also put in a link to all of our previous Boxer town halls. The dates are all listed there. So if you feel like you might have missed something, you can always go back, but I would definitely don't go too far back because it does have all of last year's information as well.
We will see you in the spring. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the evening.